Chris Balair. An overly friendly girl Devon vaguely knew as Kira waved aggressively at Devon to grab her attention. It must have been the jet lag, but Devon swore she saw Christian roll his eyes. Hi, I'm Devon. She gave Kira a half-hearted wave and sized up the larger group. Everyone was objectively attractive, making Devon suddenly feel woefully underdressed. She had chosen jeans, knee-high boots, a white t-shirt, and her go-to cargo jacket for the mandatory school outing to Buckingham Palace. Only one day in London, and she was already uncomfortable. Did you have a good flight over here? I arrived a week ago. I wanted to get a head start, the lay of the land. It took Devon a minute to register that Kira was talking to her. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I just got here this morning, so sorry I'm a bit out of it. Devon fought the waves of nausea coursing through her body. She had forgotten her motion sickness pills of all things on the plane ride over, and now she was paying for it, with the constant feeling of motion pulsating through her like a torturous ride she couldn't get off. It's all good. I'm glad you're finally here. Kira gestured to the group of strangers. I've been dying to meet my fellow Fordham Rams. This time Devon wasn't hallucinating. She really did see Christian roll his eyes. What was his problem? Devon thought about pepping up her energy to match Kira's, but she couldn't muster it. Thankfully, Beth stepped in to fill the void. It's so great to be here across the pond. Should we start walking? Beth gestured down the long drive towards the palace, and Devon finally noted the hordes of tourists walking past their small group. She was in London. She took a deep breath and willed herself to be present. She fell in step behind Kira and Beth, but just ahead of Christian and Joe. They were in deep conversation about a game they were missing because of the time change with the States. Devon floated in between the two groups and thought about engaging with them. They were all students at the same school, after all. They had to have something in common, but in her 3 years there, she had never spent a copious amount of time with any of them. How odd. Hey, Devon. She turned around as she heard her name, called, and briefly made eye contact with Christian. He had soft brown eyes that crinkled in the corners. They were friendly, approachable even. She whipped her attention away from him quickly. She was in London. How cliche to meet someone she literally went to school with on a regular basis and start dating him. She imperceptibly shook her head. She was getting ahead of herself. She shifted her attention back to look at Christian and then at Joe, who was talking to her about their mutual class. So I looked up the roster and you and me have English Lit together. That's great. It's on Monday at 6, right? Yep, we can meet up earlier if you want to grab a pint before heading over. Joe said it so nonchalantly as if she always drank a pint before going to school. She supposed this could be typical if you were going to class at prime dinner time. That would be great. You said your name was Joe, right? He nodded vigorously to confirm. He was cute. Definitely more outgoing than Christian, who had yet to say a word to her outside of calling her name. Side by side, the boys made an unlikely pair. Joe was broad, somewhat stocky, but his piercing blue eyes and his high confidence made him magnetic. Christian, by comparison, was tall, slightly too tall for her if she was being honest. She figured he had to be at least 6'4". He had long legs and he kind of ambled as he walked. He did seem to have a gentle demeanor, though, and Devon took it as a good sign that he was probably harmless. She had known her fair share of hard-to-catch men. London was supposed to be a time for breaking that habit. She looked at him further, hoping he didn't notice her staring. He wore a white cotton t-shirt with 2 buttons open at his neck and a windbreaker on the top. His dirty blonde hair stood up askew as if he had just run his hands through it. Maybe that was something he did when he was nervous. She caught herself. Why did she care what he did when he was nervous? They arrived at the entrance to the palace, and Kira organized them for a multitude of group photos. These people were strangers. It felt so awkward to stand here and take photos with people she didn't know. For all she knew, they could be serial killers. Okay, maybe that was taking it a step too far, but still. There was something to be said for being aware when she was in a new country and with people that she didn't know that well. Perhaps she should just try to relax. That's what her mom had told her before she flew out of JFK. Just try and relax. It'll be wonderful. She let her mom brush her hair out of her face as they stood at the entrance to security. Be well, my baby. Her mom pulled her in tight for a hug, and Devon kept one hand on her suitcase handle. She was afraid that if she let go and hugged her mom with both arms, she wouldn't get on the plane. Just relax, she whispered under her breath as she waited for Kira to find another tourist to take their group photo. She hadn't enjoyed the previous choice of photographer, apparently. What did you say? Devon looked up to meet Christian's eyes. Had he been this close to her the whole time? She could have sworn he was on the other side of the pack for the last photo. Nothing, sorry, just talking to myself. Oh God, she groaned inwardly. Could she be any weirder? Cool. I'm Christian, by the way. It's nice to meet you. He extended his hand, and Devon was taken aback by his formality. When was the last time she had shook a guy's hand? Hesitantly, she extended her hand to meet his, and she tried to ignore how soft and warm it felt. She suddenly had the most deep sensation of wanting to bury her face in his chest. She could feel what it would be like to breathe into him, sturdy, strong. She quickly pulled her hand away and met his eyes once more. They smiled back at her with a warmth so full she suddenly felt seen. It had been so long since that had happened, she fought back the urge to cry.